Hey everybody, hello and welcome to the COVID-19 episode of Biters.
You're Diane.
That's right. Apparently the zombie virus is already affecting my brain. I am Diane and I'm here tonight with Mouse.
And I'm Marnell, and I am coming to you newly from quarantine zone.
And I've been quarantined for a week, and I'm starting to go a little stir crazy.
Mine's like official. You've been sick, so you've been quarantining, but
Well, no, actually, mine's official too, because I've got a test pending, and I can't go back to work until I have a result from the test. Obviously, a negative result from the test. So
yours is definitely official, but like mine isn't like they sent us home to work from home, you know. Mine, I got a call at 10 o'clock that said from my other half, who I live with, I commute with, and who works in the same building as me, and I got a call that said he has secondhand exposure. So we're sending him home, so you get to go home too. See you in 2 weeks as long as you're not symptomatic.
All right, I have a question. So you're going to have to burn PTO, or are they giving you the 2 weeks?
So I am monumentally fortunate that I can do the entirety of my job from home. We've had enough time to prepare for, making sure that all the gaps are filled in our online files, and I have access to them, and I have my work machine here, and I have my notes and everything that I usually take to meetings and refer back to and everything, but last week, you know, when stuff started getting real around the state, my boss and I sat one of my coworkers down and went, okay, dude, you have got to start saving stuff to the network because we don't have access to your email. So he started saving because I deal with grants. I deal with federal grants for public health. It's part of one of my jobs. And so there were huge gaps in notice of awards for federal grants and federal financial reports that we file for them and just a whole bunch of other stuff. And we were like, dude, you have to save it where somebody else can get to it. Like, because I always think, like, what if I die? Like, what if I'm driving home and I just, like, a Mack truck just, like, careens into my car? Like, I want somebody to be able to, like, pick up where I left off in my job. And I know that's, like, crazy, but I came into my job with, like, nobody had saved anything, and now I'm having to piece everything back together, and it sucks, and I don't want to be that person, so... I can do my job from home. I am not expected to do my full day at home, which I find odd, but my boss is like, look, expectations. She's like, you have your dogs at home. You have distractions at home. You're not going to want to sit for 7.5 hours a day and do nothing but your job at home. And I'm like, I've kind of already done that a couple of times, but so my hours, this is great. My normal hours are 7:30 to 4 with an hour lunch.
I just want to point out to people that you have a 7.5 hour workday. Okay, go ahead.
Right now, who knows if that'll keep during our next contract negotiation. But apparently, we're so vital to the state working that I cannot wait for our next contract negotiation. Anyway, so the time that I agreed to was 6 hours a day. So I will have to be taking 1.5 hours of leave if I actually take it. So the hours that I promised to work are 8 to 11 and then 1 to 4. So I have a 2-hour break in the middle of the day where I could, like, eat some lunch and walk the dogs or do a load of laundry or whatever. So that's really cool. But I'm one of those that, like, once I get started, there's just no stopping me. Like, I will work through lunch. I will work past 5. You know, I'll work past my normal 4 o'clock. I'll work past 5. I'll be like, just one more thing. No, I just got to finish this one more thing. Oh, I got to do that before I go. I got to set that up before tomorrow. You know, like, I'm just one of those people that's like, just one more thing, you know? And then like 2 hours later, I'm like, oh, I meant to leave 2 hours ago. So.
Well, I can do some of my work from home. Like, I can call people about labs if they're not super complicated. You know, sometimes it's hard to describe everything you need to about a lab on the phone because it's just really involved. And I can do medication refills and things like that. So I'm doing a few things from home. I'm also doing some continuing education. So, but I'm burning up paid time off too, which is really frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah. I can understand that. But yeah, I look at other people who are looking at, you know, decreased hours or being, you know, laid off entirely. I haven't looked too much into it, but I think that we have been granted 2 weeks of additional paid time off if we are positive for corona, or if we are involuntary quarantined, or if someone in our household is involuntary quarantine. So I fall under at least one of those at this point. So I actually could take 2 weeks off, but my job is essential and I want to keep doing my job to the best of my ability so that, you know, we keep this ship upright.
Well, I'm going to say what I said on Facebook, which is, to the general public, you haven't watched enough Walking Dead, and it shows.
Yeah. Yeah. There are plenty of people where I'm walking around going, you're the guy that hides the bite.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, our niece told me about someone who is totally one of those humans today. A friend of hers who is a manager for a business in a small community here in Alaska was basically told, if you voluntarily quarantine yourself after travel, you're going to lose your job. So that person made the choice to not quarantine and keep his job. Which I'm pretty sure that's illegal, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a small town, very limited job prospects.
Exactly.
The amount of time that it's going to take to come to any sort of, you know, court case or anything. Yeah, I feel you.
I do see that we will no longer be getting hair services or massage as of today's mandate from the state.
Yep. Yep. All non-essential.
Yep. But... talking about The Walking Dead, that's essential.
It is.
So here we are.
And we might be here for a while because we have very differing opinions about this episode.
Oh, good Lord, we do. So you might want to break this into 2 listening binges if you're not tired of hearing us talk already. All right, so we are here to talk about episode 13.
Yikes.
I just can't believe that we're that far away, or that we're that close, to the end of the season.
Right?
It's pretty stunning.
You know, I feel like this season has lasted years, but I also just, it's like, okay, so we started out the year with the world being on fire, and now you guys can't get out of the snow, and like the zombie plague is hitting us all. So we've been through a lot of stuff together, right?
Right.
It is March, for God's sake.
I saw the funniest thing on Facebook, and I have not shared it to the Biters page, but it was, I think 2020 has a virus. Can we reboot?
Have you tried turning it off and then on again?
Multiple times. All right. So what was your rating for What We Become? I'm going to make you go sooner first because you have a better, higher rating than I do, I'm sure.
Well, I hope I have a higher rating because I liked the episode, but I actually only gave it a 4.2 cups of hallucinogenic tea.
Okay.
So I didn't rate it really highly, but I did like the episode. And I prefaced this by saying I understand why a lot of people disliked the episode. I totally get it, but I still like the episode.
I was pretty surprised. I've gotten a fair amount of feedback from people who felt like overall they didn't really feel like it was a good send-off for Michonne.
And I totally get that. I feel the same way. What was your rating?
So, I rarely can give Walking Dead anything below a B. But I gave it 3.89 bad trips out of 5.
Wow.
Because this was a bad trip. And I probably would have rated it lower if there wasn't a segment that I liked so much. Which we'll get into because that's the only good I have for this episode. So I don't have numbers for this episode. We are broadcasting on Monday night. We're recording on Monday night. Excuse me. I think I'm hallucinating that we have a radio show as well.
We're not like the Talking Dead now. We don't do a live show on Skype after the show.
Which I have to say, Phil observed that our call quality seems like it's better than their call quality was, and I would agree with that.
Okay, so here's what I noticed, and I am a Samsung girl, so I'm going to rag on you Apple people for a little while. Those AirPods were not doing anybody any favors.
Honey, why do you think I have Bose headphones?
Yes, the AirPods were like 2 of them had really bad audio, and it's because I think it's because they were using AirPods because the other 2, their audio, what's her name's audio was the best.
Yvette Nicole Brown's. Yeah.
Yvette Nicole Brown's was the best, and I'm really disappointed in Chris Hardwick. What, you have your own podcasting studio? What that happened there?
We can blame it on Skype.
I guess so.
I'm not going to blame it on Apple. Although I do have to say I like my Bose headphones better.
Yeah.
So I do have numbers for last week, though. The numbers were actually a little bit up, which I was happy to see. So
because it was a phenomenal episode.
It was, but I thought Morningstar was a phenomenal episode as well. So Morningstar was 2.93 million same-day views. We talked about that being the first time that they had dipped below 3 million.
Yeah.
Walk With Us was actually 3.49 million, so it was up a little over 500,000 from Morningstar. And maybe it was the hype because people kind of knew that Alpha was going to die in that episode.
There was, 2 people were going to be on the couch on Talking Dead, so we knew 2 people were going to die.
Right. Which I wonder if we'll get them now that Talking is going to... I noticed that they're going to have an episode next week as well, another Skype episode.
Good. I'm glad. I don't enjoy it as much as the in-person platform, but we all have to make sacrifices in this time of need.
All right, so what did you think about the title, What We Become?
Oh, I think it was all over the episode. Obviously, it was Michonne going through her little journey of what she became instead of becoming what she could have become if she had just... taken a slightly different path. They kept mentioning the sliding doors on Talking Dead, which is a really good movie if you haven't seen it. Even though it's got Gwyneth Paltrow in it, it's a really good movie.
She used to be cool before she ruined her life with Goop.
Yeah.
Gwyneth Paltrow was not awful once upon a time.
No. And especially in that movie.
I haven't seen Sliding Doors in a long time. I may have to go back and watch that if my quarantine extends.
what we become. And then it was also what Virgil had become. And then it was also what Virgil became after he was shown a bit of mercy. It was just the smallest pebble thrown into a pond can still make enormous ripples. And you never know what's going to happen. So
I like that you saw so much more than I did, because I really got kind of stuck on them showing us who Michonne would have been if she had made some different choices.
Yes, I loved it.
I know you did, and I know why you did.
And why is that?
Because the villain is the hero of his own story.
Of course. But how much...
I'm falling apart.
How much have we talked about how horrible what they did to the Savior's Outpost was, and everyone just sort of gave him a pass, let's just kill a whole bunch of people, these strangers that, we don't know their story. Let's just kill them in their sleep.
It was really interesting because Eric Kane's article this week was very much about how he was so disturbed by that episode. And this is the first time he really felt like the series acknowledged just how horrible that was.
And I don't know if it's the first time they have, because I think somebody else called them out on it. I think it may have been Dwight or somebody. Or maybe it was Lindsley Register. Who was in this episode again? I'm so happy. That's here again. But maybe it was us that called them. I feel like they have been called out on it before, but let's just put it, and I think it was Paul Tassi. Was it Paul Tassi or Eric Kane who said it?
It was Eric Kane who was talking about it.
The group actually got off really light when Negan bashed a couple of her heads in, considering what they did.
It's so hard for me to think about losing Abe and Glenn as getting off light, but I hear what you're saying.
Yes. I mean, they could have just gone and killed everybody, because that's what our group did to the Savior Outpost.
Right.
So...
that was definitely, for me, the title, the big part of the title was Michonne, but I did like that you were able to see so much more in it, especially the mention of Virgil getting some mercy.
Yeah, I mean, and Michonne went through a journey in this episode, and I don't know if she would have shown Virgil the same mercy had she not gone through the journey that she did in her hallucinations.
Now, that's a very interesting perspective as well. I like that.
And then, of course, at the end, we kind of got a glimpse of old Michonne again with her pets, and she saw two people that needed help, and it kind of reminded her of when Andrea needed help, and she chose to help Andrea. And that's what put her on the path that led her to Rick and Judith and RJ and the communities and everything. And so I kind of feel like she was like, okay, let's go down this road again.
We will talk about that. All right. So our writer, we have talked about her before, Vivian Tse, Tse. She actually wrote Morning Star, which we both really loved. Mm-hmm. She wrote Scars. She wrote Stradivarius, both episodes that we also really loved. I'm going to tell you, for me, I really think I just didn't like the story she had to tell. I didn't like the writing. I didn't like her story. I look at the way it was put together, and for the most part, I feel like the acting was really good. I don't have any problem with the director. I just don't like the story that the writer chose to tell.
like I said, I preface this by saying I understand everything that I have read negative about this story, and I can't say that I disagree because I don't. This was not the send-off episode I would have hoped for Michonne, but it's also not goodbye. I have a feeling that she is going to meet up with Rick in the movies.
Oh, we're totally going to see her in the Rick movies. I mean, she didn't necessarily telegraph that, but Gimple sure did.
In the way that he really tried not to.
Right. So our director, we actually had talked about him before, and I couldn't find any other credits for Walking Dead, and I realized that it was because he has directed 2 episodes of Fear the Walking Dead, and that's why we've talked about him before. So his name is Sharat Raju. I hope I'm saying that right. Raju. And he directed The Little Prince, which we both kind of thought was meh. And he directed Blackjack in season 4, which we both really liked. So, this is his first effort on the main show. Again, I didn't really object to the directing. I just didn't like the story. But, I will say, he has directed an episode of Law & Order SVU. And it's been a while since we've talked about Law & Order.
I swear to God, we said that last episode.
We did say it last episode. And he also has directed a couple of episodes of Once Upon a Time, which I think we observed when we talked about him when we reviewed those episodes of Fear. That was Karen David link to him and to Walking Dead and to Once Upon a Time. There was kind of that crossover.
There's actually been a number of Once Upon a Time crossovers. Maybe that's the one I should start while I'm in quarantine.
You know, I would say I watched most of the first season and I enjoyed it, but I kind of fell off, you know?
Yeah.
I just want everybody to know that she's coughing because she has asthma, not because she has COVID-19. And by the way... Go ahead.
I tried to mute my mic.
And by the way, if you have asthma or COPD, please make sure you have plenty of albuterol. I don't want to create another rush on a drug and another panic buy, but there is a national shortage of albuterol inhalers because so many inhalers are being issued to people with COVID-19 infections. So please make sure you have your rescue inhaler.
And so here's the thing. Hoarding a medication that keeps you alive when there's short supply of it is definitely not the same thing as hoarding toilet paper.
Right.
One of the things that I have always maintained is I would not be long for this world in the zombie apocalypse because I am a severe asthmatic. So without my inhalers, if I had to run from zombies, I would die. And so I try to keep 3 to 4 to 5, actually 5 inhalers around at any one time. I noticed that one of mine is in the red zone. And I do have my nebulizer and albuterol, I have albuterol as my nebulizer machine. So I will be okay. I'm not going out and unnecessarily getting, mass quantities of albuterol. But, if you only keep one on you, if you're one of those asthmatics, or if your asthma is not well controlled or anything like that, you need to talk to your doc soon.
And I will say that I rarely encourage sharing medications, but if you're one of those folks that has mild intermittent asthma and you've got an unopened inhaler around that you're probably not going to need, think about saving that for somebody who might.
So when I woke up from my pre-quarantine nap on Saturday or Sunday, whatever day it was, the days all blur together now. I have my day pajamas and my night pajamas.
Exactly.
I had hadn't seen the Facebook post from you, and I got a message from our sister-in-law, Cassandra.
Yes.
And she was like, I have an extra inhaler from the last time I was sick. She's like, I think I only used 2 puffs out of it. If you need me to send it to you, I will. And I was like, thanks. I'm doing fine. Like, I appreciate the offer. And then I log into Facebook and like 3 people have tagged me in albuterol shortage articles. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Exactly. All right. This has been Medical Hour with Nurse Dianne and her sidekick Marnell.
Well, I mean, it is the zombie apocalypse without the zombies. See, this is the boring part that they don't show in the movies and TV shows.
The quarantine?
All the stuff behind the scenes.
Yeah. Well, you've seen what I have to say about this apocalypse. I don't think very highly of it.
Oh.
Okay. I told you we were going to talk forever. Okay, featured cast. So, Marnell didn't get the message, but it sounds like you have your own little rabbit hole, so I'm just going to really quickly cover Danai Gurira because I thought we should talk about her.
Absolutely.
I realized when I was looking at her IMDb, I don't think that we ever talked about her because she came on the scene so early. You and I weren't podcasting when she came into the series.
I do believe you are right.
So, I have a little info about Danai Gurira that I didn't know. I knew that she was from Zimbabwe, but she was actually born in Iowa. Her parents are both from Zimbabwe, and they moved her back to Zimbabwe when she was 5.
Huh.
So, she must actually have dual citizenship if she was born in Iowa. She came back to the U.S. to go to college. She studied social psychology at Macalester College in St. Paul, Minnesota, and then she got a Master of Fine Arts from New York University. She has received multiple awards for playwriting. I think most of us know by now that she's a pretty well-known playwright, as well as playing Michonne and being in the Black Panther movies. She also taught playwriting and acting in Liberia, Zimbabwe, and South Africa before she came back to the U.S. The thing that I thought was really cool is she is part of a nonprofit organization called Let's Love Our Girls. And I'm going to actually share their link on our Facebook page, but I've got it open, and it really is a group that has been put together to kind of highlight the plight of women in the world. And it's got so many great links. If you click on their thing that says useful links, it's got links about education, helping women get better education. It's got links for helping women find reproductive health care. It's got human rights links, poverty links, dealing with bullying, dealing with income inequality. It's really, really cool.
It makes me wonder if it has one of those micro-lending links where you can lend someone enough to buy, like, 2 goats or, like, the materials they need to start, a craft beading business or something and start a business of their own. And it's usually just, like, $200 or something, and it literally changes the course of people's lives.
What we become.
Right.
Yeah.
And, they found that microlending to women changes the course of the entire family's life because when women make decisions, usually they make decisions for the entire family and, they think of their children and everything. And I'm not dogging on men or anything. But they have found that it's invested more wisely and they usually have better outcomes. I have a really beautiful necklace one of the other housewives got me off of, it's like Amazon World Marketplace or something. And it was one of those where, some woman in a war-torn country started making these and selling them through Amazon and, built up her business that way and, built herself up out of poverty by selling beaded necklaces.
I would bet that it probably does have links like that. There were so many links that I didn't click on them all. I would highly encourage people to explore. Love Our Girls itself is not asking for any money. It's really just a place where you can find ways to help women in different ways. And Denai Guerrera writes their monthly blog.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I will post the link. It was really, really nice.
Busy lady.
Yeah, super busy lady.
Yeah.
So, tell us about your rabbit hole.
Okay, so after watching Walking Dead last night, I finally go to social media because I don't do that before anymore. And I noticed something was trending with The Walking Dead. And his name is King Bach. And I'm like, who is King Bach? Well, apparently, his name is Andrew Batchelor, and he was the young man that was with the young woman that Michonne helped at the very end, trying to get to. And so, King Bach is, Andrew Batchelor is better known as the persona King Bach. He's a Canadian-American actor and comedian and internet personality known for being one of the most followed persons on the now-defunct video sharing service Vine. What we in the early 2000s called TikTok, okay? Don't think that you invented that six-second video. So he actually has parlayed that into a fairly long career. And as of last night, he was uncredited in the episode, but he did confirm on Twitter that it was him, and he is now in the credited on the episode. But he has kind of, and a lot of them are shorts, but he's kind of been on the scene since 2010. And he has some minor series roles, nothing that I have ever actually watched, like The Fall, The Mindy Project, Black Jesus.
I want to say The Fall was the Gillian Anderson series, wasn't it?
I don't know. It was 2011 to 2012. So
I think it might have been.
Let's see. He was in a Carly Rae Jepsen video. He was on Key and Peele, who I love. The thing that I actually think that I probably know him from, like the one and only thing, is the movie called The Babysitter, and it was because it was like one of those comedy slasher films. It was on Netflix. It was a great, great movie. But I don't know if he is going to be part of our Walking Dead universe at large, carrying forward with the Rick stories and now what I believe to be the Rick and Michonne stories. But it's just kind of odd that such a recognizable person just had this little blip of a part at the very, very end of Michonne's storyline on our show. Is he going to carry forward into whatever comes next for Michonne?
I totally wondered if we were going to see both of those people again in the Rick movies.
Yeah, I mean, I will get into it, but I obviously don't think the path that she's following is the same one that he is on. I don't believe those guys are CRM. But
no, they're definitely not.
Yeah. But so we'll see where it takes it. And there was a ton of people very excited last night to see King Bach trending with The Walking Dead. So, yeah, I'm old.
I have no idea who this guy is, so I'm really old.
Yeah, neither did I. But he's got a ton of stuff in post-production right now. He has got Coffee and Kareem. The Effort List, Greenland, The House Next Door, The Babysitter 2, which I'll probably watch, Holidate, Loved Weddings and Other Disasters, Cabal, Scary Girl, and hashtag Speedball. So he's busy. He's an up-and-comer.
Huh.
Watch out for Andrew Batchelor, a.k.a. King Bach.
Very good. Well,
Okay.
I'll have to look him up. You'll have to post something about him on the Biters page.
I was going to try and watch some of his Vines and see if I can find a really funny one, or maybe one that is in some way Walking Dead related. I don't know what I'll find.
Well, Oh, go ahead.
I have a much shorter commute to work now, so I got some time on my hands.
Yeah, I'm kind of not digging the much shorter commute to work. I'm kind of looking forward to getting back to the office. Although now we're looking at telehealth and telling people not to come in. So
I've actually done teledoc 3 times. It's been great. One was for a rash that I got from the sun that wouldn't go away. And then I think one was for a sinus infection and one was for something else I can't remember. And I love teledoc.
I'm so freaking old school that I like to actually touch my patients, but I can't do that now anyway, so I'm not sure how the computer would change anything.
I reordered feed because I sent it to a friend and she hasn't sent it back. So I reordered the Mira Grant series feed just because they live in a society where they have to decontaminate everything and there's very little physical contact. I'm just oh my God, this is feed without the zombies.
So seriously, my tattoo artist, who I just love, has been doing live streams on Facebook, and her last several live streams have been how to construct cloth masks for healthcare workers.
Uh-huh.
But today she did a live stream about how her little ritual for cleaning her groceries when she gets them. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe we're there now.
You're there now, man.
We are there. I mean, I'm sewing masks in some of my off time, because a cloth mask is better than no mask at all.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll share a link to the Facebook page in case anybody out there is kind of crafty and wants to help people out. I think I will do that. We've kind of been doing housewives housekeeping all throughout this episode already, but a couple of things that I wanted to say. So we did take advantage of our quarantine and finished The Outsider on HBO, and it was so good. It was totally worth the watch.
So now that I don't have to watch it piecemeal, I might be able to get into it. Like I said, I think I was 2 or 3 episodes in, and I'm like, this is really Twin Peaksy.
It's really convoluted, and you really have to pay attention.
Yeah.
You can't be messing around on your phone.
Nope.
But it's totally worth it. All right, and
I hear this.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's gotten rave reviews from the people that I've talked to, and I really loved it. So, the other thing is that I have decided that COVID carbing is a thing, and that COVID carbs don't count. Right? And that was exactly the other housewife's response.
So, there is actually an article that I read today that was talking about how, people are starting to notice that they're sleeping more and they're getting worse sleep, but they're also craving sugar and carbs, and it all has to do with the self-isolation and lack of activity and lack of being social and all that kind of stuff. So our brains are trying to compensate by eating large quantities of bread.
Dude, we're all going to come out of this as alcoholic diabetics. I'm convinced.
We're gonna have to call it our Corona 15. Not our freshman 15, our Corona 15.
Oh my God, our Corona 20.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything else. I do think I am going to share that link for medical masks on Biters, though, so people can do that if they're interested.
Okay.
I told you this was going to be a long episode. I will try to run through the Whisperer's Corner pretty quickly. So just in case you didn't get enough COVID-19, the first article that I ran across while I was looking for Whisperer's Corner was actually about an actor named Daniel Newman, who played a member of the Kingdom named Daniel in 2016 and 2017. He was actually in 10 episodes, and he gave an interview on CNN and wrote an article about the experience of trying to get tested for COVID-19. So he actually traveled internationally, had a known exposure, and got sick himself. Initially had just mild cold symptoms, but started having shortness of breath. So he made multiple phone calls, could not get an answer as to where to go to get tested, finally decided to go to a major ER in Atlanta, and they basically had a tent set up outside where they were screening people. And he said basically if he had not been recognized as an actor from The Walking Dead, he probably would not have gotten any treatment. But the nurse who saw him was like, "Hey, I recognize you. How are you doing? Do you need anything?" So she got him in, got him screened and swabbed. And then ultimately what he was told was, well, you know, your symptoms aren't severe enough for us to process your test, so just go home and self-isolate.
Wait, so they gave him the test?
So they swabbed him, and then they were like, you know, you're really not sick enough for us to do anything with this specimen, so go home and self-isolate. He got a $9,000 bill for his trouble. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I will post that link as well. Yeah, I was pretty horrified. And as someone who is now 7 days out waiting for test results that were supposed to be here in 3, I get it.
So I have to tell you, there's no names in this, but I did have a young woman, and I don't answer the main line. I'm not an admin person. I'm an accounting person. Thank God. Because, God, some of the phone calls those poor admin people get. A woman called, and she, rightfully so, was freaking out because she had been self-isolating. She managed to get a test, and it had been 9 days, and she had not heard anything back. And she couldn't get a hold of anyone to return her calls about her test results. She's like, I have been self-quarantining for this long. It's been 9 days since my test. Where the heck is it? I want to know if I'm negative so I can get back to work. And yeah, 9 days, and they hadn't called her with their test results.
Honestly, that's my situation. I mean, I don't think I have COVID-19. I'll be very, very surprised if I end up with a positive test. I can't go back to work until I have proof that I'm negative. Because I'm high risk. All right, so on to something that is not COVID-19 related. You can go down the Daniel Newman rabbit hole if you decide to look at the link on our Facebook page. So Eric Kane did say that this episode was utterly ridiculous in every way, and I am quoting him. And the first line of his article was, "If I were Denai Guerrera, I'd be downright infuriated with the send-off AMC gave her character." So he basically spends his whole essay ranting about how much he didn't like this episode.
He did. And like I said, I do not discount anybody's dislike of the episode because I saw it all. Like, I get it, but it did not rain on my parade, except one thing that he said towards the end of the his rant. He did mention the whole group of thousands of people that were moving, I don't know, northward, westward, whatever it was, in the caravans and everything. And they were perfectly outlined by the people on horsebacks. And the valley that they were moving through was exactly the right width that they needed to be to move these thousands of people. I was like, okay, you got me there.
I have something else that's going to rain on your parade about that, which is my next item in Whisperer's Corner. So Screen Rant is suggesting that new group of people is Ginny's Pioneers.
I thought that.
Oh,
no! Oh my god. I seriously thought that.
Oh my god, it completely ruined it for me.
I even have Fear the Walking Dead stuff pulled up because I was like, what was her name? Yeah, I seriously was like, oh god, I wonder if that's Ginny's group. Because, of course, they're a time jump ahead of us, so this would be the beginning of Ginny's group.
I am utterly horrified.
So I really hope that if it is, it would seriously be kind of a good gag if it's like 1 or 2 episodes or like the first 15 minutes of the movie and we move on from there and it's like, ah ha ha, then they move on to Fear the Walking Dead and we know what happens with that. And then Michonne like trails off from them and is like, you're not what I'm looking for, and goes off from them. Like they're just a blip on her radar. It would be funny, but not for too long.
When I read that article, I was, oh god, it just brought up all of the loathing I have for that character.
Thousands of people on horseback, and I was like, oh my god, that's her, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. So it'll be interesting to see. And someone, I think it was Bry, who said, that he really feels like this is all pushing all of these different groups from both series and from the new series as well to a point where they're going to come together in the Rick movies. And this would certainly be a way to get the Pioneers in the Rick movies. Not good. All right, speaking of the world beyond, and this is a little bit novel coronavirus-y, they have been changed. Their release date has been changed from April 12th to, quote, later this year. So we really don't even know when we're going to finally see it. The article that I read basically said it's probably because of the changes in programming related to filming disruptions for Fear and filming disruptions for Walking Dead Season 11. Mm-hmm. But at this point, we don't know when we're going to see the world beyond.
No.
They have completely wrapped filming for Season 1, but
they can't do any sort of press junkets or panels or anything, I mean, they could do kind of what they did with Talking Dead and do some Skype interviews, but other than that, we are all trying to deal with the new normal of not being within 6 feet of each other in groupings larger than 10.
Or 2, depending on where you are. Seriously, some places are limiting you to groups of 2.
Yeah, that's another thing that was really difficult at work. Like, my office has 5 people, and we are all nicely 6 feet or more apart, but we share an elevator with, 200 other people. Like, how many before you are just like, nope, I'm getting off, I'll take the stairs.
And we know that at least one of them was a support worker who is now positive for COVID-19.
Right?
So I thought this article was really nice. This was from gamesradar.com, and it talked about the iPhone that Michonne found. And it actually said that the Japanese message that's carved into the iPhone translates to believe a little longer.
Okay, I got that one from Cinema Blend. So.
Okay. And that was confirmed by Angela Kang. And there was also a suggestion in this article that actually the person who did the drawing was Jadis.
Oh, I could see that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, that was interesting. The only other thing that I have, because I finally had to cut myself off, altpress.com had a pretty funny article where they talked about fans who have gone back and rewatched season 1, and I have been rewatching the series. I'm now into season 2. There was a fan who actually noted that Dwayne and Morgan were hoarding toilet paper when they were holed up in that house in Rick's hometown.
Oh my God.
They mentioned in the same article, and I can't remember if I shared this on Biters or if I just put it on my own Facebook page, but a woman asked her college roommate who lives in Atlanta to recreate the photo of the picture, a photo of the picture of Rick riding the horse on the Atlanta highway. You saw my share, right?
Yeah, that's actually been all over Twitter.
It's eerie, man. I mean, it looks exactly like that completely barren highway. The only thing that's missing is Rick on the horse.
Yeah.
And the pileup of cars going the other way. But the highway into Atlanta is completely barren. Yeah, so a lot in Whisperer's Corner, a lot related to our unfortunate circumstances. Yeah.
So, but here's the whole thing. It is literally affecting every facet of people's lives right now, from their jobs to their retirement accounts to the public transportation that they take to the shows that they watch being delayed to, it dominates the news cycle. And then there's the whole factor of getting sick or not trying not to get sick, or getting sick and trying not to get other people sick. And it is the new normal right now, but it's not forever. Look, even if, and worst case scenario, and I don't want this to happen, we overwhelm our healthcare system and a lot of people will die. This is what we are trying to avoid by quarantining, sheltering in place, social distancing, washing your hands. We're doing all of this to try and avoid that, but people are going to die of this. And I hope that very few people die from this. But it is something we are going to be dealing with for a very long time, but not forever. And we're not all going to die from it. 80% of people will recover, and you'll be fine. So, don't hoard supplies, especially gloves and masks and toilet paper and things like that. But just stay vigilant, Try and stay healthy.
And stay home.
Stay home.
For the love of God, stay home.
I am asking you to spend the next 2 to 3 weeks laying on your couch watching Netflix, getting food delivered to your door. Doesn't sound too bad, does it?
Or I'm asking you to sew a mask for a healthcare worker or someone who is immune compromised.
I'm terrible. I would probably leave a needle in it. Not on purpose. I'm just I'm not that sort of crafty at all.
Well, thank goodness I make up for the both of us.
Yes, you do.
You can come remodel my house. Oh, by the way, so this is not Whisperer's Corner. This is Housewives Housekeeping. 1:00 this morning, I am waking up my husband going, guess what? Our refrigerator is dying and our freezer is defrosting itself. You can't imagine what it's like to be on quarantine and to have to send your partner out to look for a new refrigerator in the middle of a pandemic.
So, do you guys have a chest freezer or anything?
We do, and this is a morbid reality of living in rural Alaska, but right now part of our freezer is taken up by a dead dog.
Yes, because you cannot bury the dog until the earth unfreezes.
And it is a fairly involved trip to town to take him to the crematorium.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Anyway, we do have some freezer space, and we were able to get some things in the freezer, and then we had to dredge up the couple of coolers that we have and load everything up into the coolers. But yeah, that's what I was doing between the hours of 1 and 2 this morning.
awesome.
And let me tell you, finding a refrigerator that matches your black appliances in the middle of a pandemic, not an easy feat either.
I didn't think people were panic buying Frigidairs,
right?
But okay.
Let me just tell you, we paid more for my Frigidaire than I really wanted to, but it's here and it's working, so there you go. I couldn't afford to lose the groceries.
No.
Oh my god, okay, I think we're finally on to our goods, bads, and uglies, and I'm so sorry we've been so all over the map, but you guys, times are crazy.
Yeah. It's crazy out there.
All right. What, you were going to say something else, or?
I'm stuck on that. It's like the most boring, frustrating parts of the zombie apocalypse without the zombies. Like,
you've seen my post about Fairbanks.
Yeah.
They're having a massive blizzard right now. I'm like, this zombie apocalypse sucks.
Yep. Thought I would at least get to shoot at least one person I don't like in the head by now. All right.
Tell me you're good, because I've only got one good, so I'm saving it.
I kind of figure maybe our goods were very related, not maybe the exact same thing, but my good, if you have not seen Stranger Things, when I say the upside down Michonne, I mean the bad Michonne, the evil Michonne, the one from the other timeline. I absolutely, loved that cold open where it was nearly shot for shot of when Andrea was getting away from a small horde, and this was our introduction to Michonne, and how it sort of split off from there. It's that sliding doors effect, and from everything from then on was completely different, and she wound up going with the Saviors, and Rick's group attacked her, and she was the one who wound up, at the end of the bat, at the good end of the bat. And just that whole story arc of just one small decision, turning left instead of turning right, or helping the person versus not helping the person. I didn't quite understand the whole she was orange backpack guy. But I guess that was another choice that our group made in the past that had some repercussions. But it was really just the backpack guy didn't survive.
So it was absolutely that casual cruelty of not helping someone.
Yeah. Yeah. So I loved all of the flashbacks where it put Michonne into a different position because of the one decision she made. And, it ended with Daryl putting an arrow through her and then Rick shooting her in the face. And
that was so intense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, the alternate Michonne sequence is what I have written down as my good. And you're absolutely right.
Yes.
This was my good. This was kind of the redeeming piece of the episode for me. I loved that they even made her look so different once she got hooked in with the Saviors. Gone were her dreads. She was wearing that very smooth, almost hijab like headscarf.
Yeah, the wrap.
Yeah, I mean, she looked totally different. She actually looked more bulked up. She looked more badass. I mean, they really did a great, just a visual transformation of the character too. I really liked what they did with her.
Yeah, a completely different costume for a completely different character.
And Yvette Nicole Brown pointed out this moment, but I thought it was a great moment when they showed her wiping Andrea's knife on her corpse.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great moment, and that was really the start, even more so than her walking away from Andrea. That was really the start of the different person that she became.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I agree. That was absolutely the thing for me. I kind of wrote down a bunch of the different moments, so I wanted to make sure that there was nothing that we missed.
You know, and I don't think we were doing Biters at the time, so we didn't talk about the Outpost, but I think we've talked about it since then, in that, you know, it really was a terrible thing to do. And we saw the effects that it had on people like Glenn, to just go in and just kill people while they slept.
And I totally thought of you. Hashtag where's Heath?
Oh my God, I get to see Heath. I was so happy.
Yeah.
But it was like past Heath.
Yeah, I don't have anything else in particular about that as my good, but just, yeah, that was the thing that really made the episode bearable for me.
Yeah.
You know, again, I thought Denai Guerrero was amazing, but there were some choices that they made, to situations to put her character in, like putting her through having to kill all the walkers. I was like, oh, this sequence is so boring. It totally lost me.
When she was with Virgil?
Yes, I was completely disinterested in that. I actually was not even moved by all of the people that hung themselves. I mean, I did think that the shoe was a nice way to show us that was Virgil's wife.
Yeah, I was confused as to why they hung themselves. They got trapped in the building, and I guess maybe they didn't want to, like, starve to death.
Or get torn apart by walkers.
Yeah.
What's really interesting is there was the scene in season 2 where Andrea and Daryl are out together. I'm pretty sure they're looking for Sophia, and they come across someone who'd killed himself. Mm-hmm. And it was right after Andrea had, at the last minute, made the decision not to stay in the CDC and die. And Daryl was taunting her. Want to live now? Look at what happens when you off yourself. You know, it was just interesting to have that scene so fresh in my mind and then go to this scene where people had hung themselves again.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm really enjoying rewatching, by the way. And I will tell people, and I think I shared this on Biters, there is a point in season 1 where Rick says, we survived this thing by pulling together, not apart.
Yeah.
And I just want to tell people, everything I need to know about the apocalypse, our current pandemic, I learned from watching The Walking Dead. We survived this thing by pulling together, not apart.
Absolutely.
All right. I'll stop ranting now. So, what was your bad?
Michonne ignoring every single red flag that screamed out to her on that island.
Okay, I do have to say, I wrote in my notes, she should have listened to the little voice that made her draw her sword on Virgil to begin with.
It's just, I mean, right from the beginning where she's like, what's in those buildings?
Oh, and he totally telegraphs it. Oh, there's wild animals that come there. Stay away.
Yeah, best to stay away.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you better know that I'm going straight to those buildings. No. Yeah. And then after she didn't heed all of his red flags, when she gets trapped in the room and she wakes up without her sword and there's a plate of food in there. How did that happen? How did he get in there and disarm her and give her a plate of food without her waking up?
I was kind of wondering, too, how she had been out for essentially a whole day and didn't realize that she had been out for a day. I mean, what else happened?
They did not show it, but the only thing that I will accept is that this was some sort of freaky animal testing facility. We saw the little animal cages with bones in them. That maybe somewhere there was some sort of gas that he could slip a tube under the door and knock her out, long enough to get in there, get that sword off of her, and leave a metal tray of food without her waking up.
Biters, help us out. How did Virgil accomplish this?
Yeah. And then after we've ignored all of those red flags, yes, let us eat the food and drink the drink that our captor brought us, because that is always a solid idea.
You end up with Alpo sandwiches and 10 hours of Easy Street if you're not careful.
Oh, but man. And plus, I've never actually had Jimson tea, but I'm sure that it has a flavor.
So I actually looked it up, and it is an herb also called Datura stramonium.
Mm-hmm.
And it is well known for being a hallucinogenic and a deliriant. And it's taken in different cultures to produce shamanic visions.
So did you notice when he was bringing her into his settlement area, he stopped at that little garden and he's like, oh, we have teas for everything here. Did you notice the little white flower he plucked first and put in his backpack?
Oh, no, but I'm looking at a picture of Jimson weed right now, and it sure looks like exactly the same thing.
That is Jimson weed.
Yeah.
I recognized it immediately, so it actually
Of course you did, you weirdo.
It used to grow wild outside of one of my aunt's house, and I am not even kidding you. You can look it up. Hundreds of people, mostly teenagers, die of drinking this tea every year because it's widely abundant in nature.
So don't drink Jimson tea, and don't drink chloroquine that is created to clean fish tanks, please.
But it's a hallucinogenic, so they're like, oh, I think they even did a CSI Las Vegas about it.
Oh, did they really?
I think they did. I think it's the one where the kids wind up in the desert naked, and they actually died of excessive heat or something.
Okay, so this is super interesting. The active ingredient is atropine, and what atropine does is it slows down your heart rate. And actually, no, I'm lying. No, atropine slows down your heart rate. Or does it speed up your heart rate? God, I'm going to fail ACLS. How embarrassing.
So it's akin to belladonna, and belladonna got its name by because Italian women used to use it to dilate their pupils to make them seem more attractive. So it is a deadly nightshade.
Okay, yeah, yours truly would fail ACLS if she took it right now, because atropine increases your heart rate. I'm sorry, I'm so embarrassed. So we give atropine when someone has a really slow heart rate, or sometimes we'll give it in a code to try to stimulate the heart rate.
So it also has like a scopolamine type effect to it.
I can see that. Yeah.
Which I would imagine would be the hallucinogenic part.
Absolutely. I actually had a patient once have a psychotic break because she decided that 2 scopolamine patches were surely better than 1.
They sound better than 1.
I don't know. Her psychotic break was pretty scary.
If one is good, more is better.
Absolutely.
Did she wind up evil herself?
Did she wind up going down Michonne's path?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure her bridegroom thought so. So she was on her honeymoon.
Oh no.
And she was on a cruise and was trying not to get seasick. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that her groom thought so.
Oh, seasickness sucks. I've been there.
Okay, so going back down the bizarre rabbit hole that is Datura, which is also the other name for Jimson weed. Do you remember that movie, The Serpent and the Rainbow? About voodoo in Haiti?
No.
It's Jimson weed used to make zombies. Oh. How perfect is that?
That is perfect. So the way that Jimson weed actually got its name is it's called Jamestown weed. And in Jamestown, Virginia, when the English soldiers consumed it while attempting to suppress the Bacon Rebellion, that sounds delicious. They spent 11 days in an altered mental state.
Oh, that is awesome. Sorry, we'd like to suppress your rebellion, but we're too high.
Right? And they put it in their salads, not knowing what it would do.
Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah, so don't go down this road, but damn, this sounds kind of fun. It's also a common ingredient used for making witches' flying ointment. Whoop whoop.
Yeah, I'm sure you'd be flying high. But bear in mind,
how funny.
Bear in mind, to this day, it still kills hundreds of people from overdose on it. It's not something you can really get the dosage right unless you're like a really good chemist. So
yes, the Real Housewives of Alaska in no way endorse or support the illicit use of gypsum weed.
No.
As much as we're going on about it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was your bad again?
All the red flags that she ignored, including
the
drinking
weed.
The food and water that your captor gives you. Who does that?
Yeah, well...
All right,
I got nothing. So I actually have two bads. I know that surprises you tremendously. So the one that I wrote down initially was the new group at the end. And we kind of talked about that already. I mean, the whole, like, who are they and what is this nomadic thing? And they don't bear any resemblance to CRM, so how are they going to crash into them in the new world? And yeah, so I don't know. I didn't need it. I didn't want it. It was another piece of story that I wasn't interested in. And it's even worse now that I think it might be related to Ginny. But the thing that I wrote down while you were talking about your good was actually another thing that really bugged me. And it was that I felt like the Andrea footage at the beginning, if you look at the way the film was shot, like the lighting, the colors, everything, it's so different from the way that the new footage with Michonne was shot. Mm-hmm. It's pretty jarring, actually, and they did a much better job when they did her hallucination about who she became.
Yeah.
The initial footage trying to mix Andrea in at the very beginning, not good. The footage where they recreated the clearing, the footage where they showed her meeting the saviors, much better. So yeah, that's actually my bad.
I agree. What was I going to say? You had two bads. What was your first bad?
My first bad was just griping about the new group, like not wanting their story and not being interested in their story and hating it even more now that I think it might be the Pioneers. So
I feel, and this was one of the biggest complaints that I've seen online, was this bottle episode really went nowhere and had no bearing on anything.
I agree.
There was a whole bunch of short stories that never really came to an ending. And there was a bunch of clues that were scattered without that I maybe hope that they're in the Rick movies in the future. I don't know, because they focused in on that map that had group 1, group 2, group 3. And at first, I think we kind of assumed that was the map of our people. Like, oh, here's Oceanside, here's Alexandria, here's Hilltop, here's the Whispers, And then I kind of think that maybe it was the people in the naval facility that he was holding hostage. Group 1. Or now maybe it was CRM that wrote that, and there was different groups in there. There's just a whole lot of stuff that was just sort of left open. I mean, and Virgil stayed behind, so that story never really went anywhere. I mean, yeah, he was a better person for having met Michonne.
We think.
Yeah, he got to bury his dead, and he got a second chance. And one of the things that Michonne said struck me. She said, sometimes the most injured are the most forgiving.
I did think that was really beautiful. I thought that was one good piece of writing.
Yeah. And then we had the 3 people that she helped out and that helped run the boat. But then, like, they didn't seem to go with her, and she met those 2 other people, and then there was just a whole bunch of fragments that really didn't seem to matter overall. You know? And
will we get more answers? Like, how did Rick get parted from those boots?
Yeah, and Scott kind of maybe tried to talk about it on the Talking Dead, but was it Yvette Nicole Brown that pointed out that the picture that was scratched into the phone of Judith was of a much older Judith. It wasn't the Judith from 6 years ago. So,
and I think he was trying to say that it was just an imagined Judith, kind of who they thought Judith would have been when she was older.
Well, I guess he knows what Shane and Laurie's baby looked like at 10 years old.
Which, by the way, I don't know if you remember it, but Rick lost his hat in the street in Atlanta in the first episode, and Glenn saved it when they went back and got the guns. And so I was thinking about that and, like, the repercussion of that one action now that we see that hat so many years later on Judith's little head.
We saw it on Carl, and then Judith inherited it.
Pretty cool, huh?
It is. So, I had a small ugly, a very, very small ugly.
A good ugly or a bad ugly?
A funny ugly.
Okay, so it was kind of a good ugly then.
Yes, so you had to pause it to see it. Virgil and Michonne break into what I assume is some sort of military hospital thingy. They did the whole stupid thing where they don't just stand at one window and tap on it and just, like, poke everyone through the head at the window. No, they're going to go in. And they're going to remove the bottleneck instead of just bringing everyone, all the walkers through the bottleneck.
Yeah, so I didn't see it because that was the scene where I was like, this is boring.
So, now she doesn't want to fight all of these zombies that Virgil drew in by knocking everything over. She doesn't want to fight them in the hallway because there is no swinging room in that hallway. So she gets them into this, like, day room or something. And while Virgil is standing there, behind his shoulder, you see a poster. And the poster says, "Help stop the spread." And it's a syphilis and gonorrhea help stop the spread.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Everything that we are going through right now, I thought it was apropos. So
little did they know when they were filming this episode.
Right? I think they were just like, oh, haha, zombie virus, let's help stop the spread. And, now we have our own zombie virus going on without the zombies. And I was just like, I had to rewind it twice. I was like, is that really what that poster says? That cannot be a coincidence. That was product placement.
Which, by the way, hot tip, gonorrhea and syphilis are both making a comeback. So there you go.
It's because we all think we're going to die, so we're hooking up. Plus it's spring break.
So much for social distancing.
All right, what was your ugly?
All right, so of course I have been griping all along. My ugly was a bad ugly, and it was really the whole Judith Michonne conversation. No, No, no,
Right?
no, 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 no. There is no way this kid is going to say, Mom, you have to leave me and go on this journey, and I may never see you again. And by the way, I'm completely traumatized because I just killed my first human being, and I had to put Earl's zombie down, and the hilltop is completely destroyed. But go ahead, Mom, go, and leave me alone with my little brother.
Right?
There is no freaking way.
And how, as a mother, okay, so I know that the trail for your dead husband has just heated up for the first time in 6 years. But you know what? The trail is still relatively cold. It's not really going anywhere. You've got the boots, you got the phone, and you maybe had New Jersey Bridges Shipyard as a clue, because I kept focusing in on that, on the manifest.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, it can kind of wait for you to be like, hey, Shoto, like, go back to Oceanside. I have a boat. I'll meet you there. We'll have a proper goodbye. And, I don't know, maybe you can come help me find your dad. Like, yeah.
Not buying it.
I know she is a strong and wise beyond her years, but that is still her mom, and I cannot imagine being like, no, go find Dad. I assumed she would be like, you're not finding Dad without me. You're either going to give me coordinates of where you are, or I'm going to wander around and find you.
Exactly.
Because when does she ever listen?
And... You know, I'm pretty sure it was Eric Kane who said this in his article, so this is not an original thought. But, oh, by the way, I'm going to have this conversation with my 10-year-old daughter, but I'm not going to talk to any of the adults in the group and let them know what's going on.
Oh, and see, I wrote that down. I'm like, okay, how does Judith break the news of Michonne to the rest of the group? Does she just be like, hey, Uncle Darrow, my mom's gonna go find my dad because he left his boots on a boat.
And she found this thing called an iPhone that apparently has a picture of me on it.
And the word Rick.
Yeah.
And then a whole bunch of Japanese writing.
Which we don't really know what that means, but it doesn't really matter. It could mean, you're doomed, we're all gonna die. But no.
Don't come find me.
Stay with Judith and RJ.
I've moved on with Pollyanna McIntosh.
Oh my god. That is the best. I am convinced Angela Kang is lying to us, and it actually says that. All right, I think that takes us firmly into Rotting Potpourri.
I think so too.
That is hilarious.
Oh man. I really don't have a lot, do you?
Oh, of course I do. But now I actually have to look through it and see if there's anything that I haven't already griped about.
So I do have to say, I really hope that this was not actually the Michonne send-off. I really hope this was her transition into the movies.
Oh, yeah, it absolutely is.
And maybe it was just a bit part, but this Andrew Bachelor, King Bach, I really kind of hope that, like, we see a couple of those faces in the movie, just to kind of tie it back a little more. I think that would be cool.
As long as it's not Ginny.
And, unless it's like Ginny's origin story where she's like somebody's idiot secretary or something.
Oh, God.
And she winds up rising to power because, like, I don't know, people mysteriously die because she's poisoning their coffee with Jimson or something.
I was just going to say with Jimson weed.
I don't know. Maybe. If she's gonna be in it, it's gotta be something outlandish.
I'm hoping that they will kill her off in fear and we will never see her again. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
All right, so we did get a new name for the biters this week.
Rippers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. You know, we're 10 seasons in and they're still giving us new names for the zombies. That's good.
And, you know, it kind of fits. When I first heard it, I did not hear Rippers. I don't know what I heard, but I heard Rippers on the rewatch, and I was like, yeah, I guess they do rip you apart.
Uh-huh, exactly.
I guess the first time he said Ripper, I was thinking Reavers from
Firefly.
Firefly.
Yeah. So did you figure out exactly why Virgil was like putting her off and saying, let's do it tomorrow morning? Was he going to let her go?
I don't know.
I couldn't figure that out. Even on the second watch, I was like, what is his motivation here?
He did really lie about
let her go?
He did lie about the weapons. So, I mean, that wasn't going to fly forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the standard Geritol hour gripe, once again, the scenes were really dark. They did a really good job over the last few episodes of kind of lightening them up and making it more watchable, and, you know, this was not.
Yeah, there was a couple scenes that were tough for me. I watched on a TV and a laptop.
I also... go ahead. Your turn. Your turn!
Do you think we see Virgil again? He stayed on the island.
I don't think so. I think we have a better chance of seeing King what's-his-name again versus actually seeing Virgil again.
Okay.
So I saw a couple of parallels with old stories and these current stories, these new stories. I really thought that Virgil's decision to lock everybody in was kind of like Gabriel's decision to lock all of his parishioners out.
Yeah. I would have liked a better explanation of why that group hung themselves. Or did they just give up on getting out, and they didn't want to die of thirst or starvation?
I think I'm more of the belief that it's because they were hoping that they wouldn't get ripped apart. But,
yeah.
You know. So I kind of just was trying to figure out what Virgil's whole deal was aside from just losing it, and I decided that he had this whole Charles Manson trip going on. This island has a gift. It can help you the way it helped me. All right, Charlie Manson, slow your roll.
See, and I was like, okay, so when did this become an episode of Lost? Oh. Yeah.
So I did like the part in her conversations with Virgil, though, where he kept finishing her sentences and was like, we've already had this conversation 3 times. That was interesting. I liked that.
Yeah, because when you were stoned, I hate it when that.
I wouldn't know.
And, so I did that when I was high once on pot, but I've also, like, come out of surgery and been like that. And it, like, people are like, yeah, no, this is like the 3rd time we've had this conversation. Or I'll be like, have we had this conversation before? People are like, yeah.
I would have to say I've been more on Virgil's end of the conversation just because I worked in the recovery room for so many years as a nurse. Like, when people were coming out of anesthesia, it was exactly that. It was like, yeah, you've already told me about your fabulous wife who's waiting for you out in phase 2 recovery. We've talked about her about 10 times now.
Oh, that's funny.
I liked the vision of Sadiq, although there was part of me that was like, yep, Abby Nash was the only character that they could get who'd been killed off to come back and be a Vision. They couldn't get Andy Lincoln or Chandler Riggs.
Yeah. So, to be entirely fair, I don't know what Andrea looks like these days, so I can't attest to that, but, like, looking at when they were all lined up on their knees and everything, and just, like, Maggie was so, like, skeletal thin, and she looked so, you know, like
desperately sick.
I don't know if they could have repeated that, and then, of course, to have everyone lined up and have them look, like, exactly the same. I'm okay with them using the old footage.
Oh, I am too. Like I said, I felt like they did a better job cutting the old footage and the new footage together in the Michonne sequence as opposed to at the very beginning during the cold open.
Yeah. I do like how we did get a glimpse of the old Michonne right there at the end when she made her two walker buddies.
Yeah.
And she was wearing the poncho and everything. She dispatched them pretty quickly.
I was going to say her choice to give up the dead to help the living.
Yeah.
I did like that.
Could you imagine how terrifying that would be to be those two people that are just trying to make it to that caravan, and like this lady walks up on you with a sword and two walkers on a chain, and you're just like, oh crap. We thought we had it bad because this guy's got a bum ankle, but we just ran into a psycho.
What they're saying to themselves is, this apocalypse sucks.
And it has zombies.
And it has zombies, exactly. I did like the dripping water faucet. I thought that was a good horror element. I thought that was a nice touchstone to some of the different horror things that we've seen throughout this season.
See, and I couldn't help but think, okay, there's water dripping from that tap. Why were you drinking the stuff he gave you?
Well, you know, he could have been piping that in too, and maybe that's how she lost that whole day.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw somewhere, I heard somewhere that somebody was like, that couldn't have been the 2 weeks that she was gone, that the Whisperer War happened, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, I started reading on Jimson, and they're like, okay, like, trips usually last between 24 and 48 hours. And then there was one where it was like, they can last up to 11 days. And I'm like, yep, he totally OD'd her on Jimson. And she was tripping for 11 days, which is why she was violently sick afterwards.
She was too, man.
Oh, she sold that. I just wanted to take that bucket though and like just throw it at him.
Well, she stabbed him in the leg with a fork, right? So I mean, it got better.
Yeah.
I did like what she said to the 3 people that he imprisoned about giving him mercy, because it was a reference back to Sadiq and Carl.
Yep. Yep.
Could you explain to me why an iPhone appeared all of a sudden?
So, I have been trying to think back on this, and I cannot remember.
I don't remember ever seeing an iPhone in any of The Walking Dead.
I don't know if it was The Walking Dead. Darn it. I feel like there was some other movie. It might have been Fear the Walking Dead. It might have been Black Summer. Somebody had a picture. Oh, you know what? I think it was the show Revolution.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Where they kept carrying around their iPhone because it contained all of the pictures of their child. And I can't remember if their child was dead or if they got separated from them. And they were looking for a place to charge their iPhone, because just to see that picture of their child one more time. And, you know, it's so true. Like, very few people have printed pictures of the loved ones in their lives, because we keep them all on our phones. And
it's true.
I thought it was, you know, interesting that he decided, and I think that he carved it in. Somebody else said that he drew it on or something. I think he carved it into the glass or plastic or whatever it was. And so, you know, I mean, it's just, it's something that we do right now, is like, we look at pictures on our phone. And so it was a way for him to have a picture that wasn't going, even if it got wet, it wasn't going to get destroyed, you know, even if it couldn't blow away, it couldn't, you know. So I think he just was using the material he had.
I just don't understand why a phone would appear all of a sudden. I mean, I was thinking back to 2010 when this first started, and I thought, yeah, I had a really cool, like, really early iPhone. Yeah, I don't know. It just, it just seemed odd. Yeah. Seemed very strangely placed to me.
So, if you were separated from your husband and you went into a room with a bunch of supplies, would you immediately recognize the shoes he wears on a daily basis?
And would I put them against my face and snort? Probably not. Probably not. But those boots, to be fair, are such a huge part of Rick's persona. They are. Maybe.
They are. I think I could probably recognize the shoes that he wears every day. Here's the thing. He would not recognize any of my shoes, because I'm one of those women who has like 50 pairs of shoes, and so I don't wear the same ones every single day.
I think that's a family thing.
Yeah.
Which I still haven't gotten my crazy expensive boots back yet, because now they're in quarantine with our other sister.
Yeah, my super awesome shoe store is allowing people to shop basically online, and they'll do curbside pickup and free delivery, or cheap delivery or something like that. So,
well, since we're not spending money on massage or hairdressers.
I know, right? And I am not commuting back and forth to work every day, so I'm saving that gas.
There you go.
No, I will be a responsible quarantiner, and I will not go out. I have enough food and toilet paper to last me.
Not hoarding. Not hoarding.
Not hoarding.
Okay, the only other thing that I had left in my comments was, so Michonne and Judith saying that they were going to hang on to their walkies and stay in touch as long as they could, and it was Morgan and Rick all over again.
Yeah. Yep.
And now I've got feedback all over the frickin' place.
Yeah, I've been kind of seeing that. You've been posting a lot lately.
So, well, because I'm in quarantine. So finding it could be challenging and interesting, but here we go. I'm going to go to my own page first, because I've been posting a lot of stuff about rewatching. So you're going to have to talk while I'm scanning.
Okay, so recently you did post, not enough general public has watched the Walking Dead shows, and it shows. And Christine Bowman commented, I've been calling my trips to the grocery store supply runs. I am totally stealing that. I love that.
And I think that's the first time we've heard from Christine, so hello.
Yes, hello, Christine Bowman.
So Brian said, don't drink tea from strangers. That's one of the lessons that he learned from The Walking Dead.
Don't drink anything from strangers. Like, as women, we learn that very early on.
I realized that Shane was speaking some real truth to Rick at the end of season 1. So he said basically if we would be in much better circumstances if you hadn't taken half of our people, half of our resources, and expended them elsewhere. And I thought, ooh, if that's not a commentary on our current social situation, I don't know what is.
Right?
I'm still looking. Oh, so I also learned from The Walking Dead, don't drink from your well until you check it for walkers.
Oh, Will Walker is still one of my favorite walkers.
I'm in the middle of that episode right now.
When that sucker rips in half.
Oh, it's so disgusting. And then T-Dog uncorks on it and says, yeah, I'm so glad we didn't do something stupid like shoot it in the head. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Oh, and you know, one of the things that I did right was that for me, Jim's death in season 1 is so much more poignant now that we're seeing the tragedy that we're seeing in our own world. It was even harder. It was sad when I first watched it and when I've watched it over and over, but it was even harder this time.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot. I'm spending more time on Twitter and less time on Facebook, which is not healthy. I highly recommend against it. But I gotta say we're seeing a lot more of my friend died, my mom died, my uncle died coming out of this pandemic.
Oh, right now there's a 12-year-old girl with no extenuating,
no exposure.
Health problems. Yeah, no health problems, and she's on a ventilator.
Ugh.
Nikki Campbell Keith, this apocalypse is almost as bad as that episode. Seriously? That's the best they could do for our beloved Michonne. The entire thing felt forced and contrived. The only reason why I'm not flipping my TV over is because I'm hanging on to hope that ultimately she will find Rick, and in the very last episode of the series, we will have a shot of her, Rick, and Judith being reunited, and I am giving Angela King major side-eye for allowing this monstrosity. Stay safe, Alaskan housewives, and wash your hands.
I am right there with Nikki Campbell Keith. Right there.
Yeah, like I said, I do not discount any of the faults that anybody found with this episode. I pretty much agree, but I really did like the good spots a lot. And as far as washing my hands, one thing I can say about quarantine is home is where you can rub your eyes. Oh, I can touch my face all the time. It's great.
Hey, I want to say something else about something that I shared on Walking Dead or on Biters a couple of weeks ago. So I asked for funds to help get my patient's dog to the vet.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people donated, and I actually ended up with way more money than we ended up needing. So I kind of polled people to see what they wanted me to do with it, and I'm going to be splitting it between the rescue that we work with, the local animal shelter, because they actually have a program where they will help people with the cost of pet food if they're laid off from work or if they're short on funds. And I'm probably going to give some money to Meals on Wheels, too.
Love it.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I mean, people were so incredibly generous, so I just wanted to say thank you so much.
Yes. Spread a little love. Sprinkle that crap everywhere.
Absolutely. Anything else on the Biters page?
Speaking of love, Pedro Pelez said, I loved the what if Michonne didn't save Andrea mini story. The conversation between Michonne and Judith and the final scene of that massive wagon train as if they were headed west into the unknown. I didn't understand why Virgil was holding those people prisoner. None of us do. I understand him snapping, but not the whole keeping them prisoner and making them making Michonne hallucinate. I think that he was self-medicating with the Jimson weed, and so he thought that, like, maybe he could, I don't know, bring her over to his side with it. But as far as, like, holding his other people captive, I think when he trapped everybody in the building, they got trapped behind two, and, like, it's kind of like it went too far, and so he's like, I can't really let you out because you're going to kill me, but, like, I'm just going to, I don't know, like, was he one of those pet owners that, like, leaves their pet away for, like, a weekend and they just throw a whole bunch of, like, dog or cat food down?
I kind of got the feeling that he's pretty much one of those pet owners. Yeah.
Yeah, and just, like, left the toilet open because, like, it runs. Like, if you, like, drink all the water out of it, it'll refill itself. I think he's one of those pet owners that did that to those poor people. And, God, could you imagine, like, someone said they were in there for years. I don't know if they were in there for years, but, like, I don't know, 3 people trapped in, like, an 18 by 18 brick room in the sweltering heat or the cold or whatever, like, bathroom situations. And,
yeah. I thought they looked super clean, and their hair looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Their hair looking way better than mine is going to look by the time this whole thing is over.
Oh, yeah. Yep. But, yeah, I agree with the, I loved the What If episode.
Well, I think that's it.
I think that is it also. I think we've ranted about just about enough.
We've talked about a lot, but I have to say my favorite part of talking to you tonight was learning all about Jimson weed. I'm still enjoying that.
It fascinated me as a kid. What's funny is, like, I knew about it for a really long time from a really young age, and it was only because, like, every year they're, like, teens decide it's a good thing to do. Let's just make some Jimson tea and like, go on a trip. And, you know, they wind up dying from it and stuff. And it just, oh, wow.
Okay, so I know that you and Steve are going to torture me and Diana with Night of the Comet. I am here to propose that we need to do the movie The Serpent and the Rainbow. Because I can't believe you've never seen it. It's really good.
I thought we were doing Fido.
We need to do that too. We're gonna have time now that the production for Fear and Walking Dead season 11 got screwed up and World Beyond got bumped. We're gonna have time.
We're gonna have so much time. Okay, so do you remember the writer's strike a few years ago? And, like, there was a whole huge gap in, like, when shows that were currently airing came back and when shows that were supposed to have started came on because there was a writer's strike. Nobody was writing. And I think that's when reality TV kind of got real big. I kind of feel like there's going to be this huge gap in scripted television. Well, anything where you have to be with a whole bunch of other people. So TV series, movies, anything like that, even reality television. I think there's going to be this huge gap. And so I think we're all going to have a whole lot of time on our hands to catch up on some of the good stuff that's out there.
They could have a digital writer's room. They could.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be able to write it, but I don't think they'll be able to film it.
Exactly.
I mean, if something's not in the can and if they are not willing to release it without being able to do press, I think it's weird that they're not releasing it because literally everyone on Earth is trapped in their homes watching their televisions right now. What better time to release a TV series?
You got me. I'm probably going to watch that crazy Tiger King documentary on Netflix because I'm trapped.
Okay.
So
I kind of so am too.
All right, but I gotta go back to The Serpent and the Rainbow because it was so good. So Wade Davis was an ethnographer for Harvard who actually wrote the book that this movie is based on. And it is all about kind of voodoo and how they manage to lull people, trick people into believing that they're zombies. It's really good.
Oh, I remember this because I remember Bill Pullman in it.
It was creepy AF.
I thought this was named something completely different.
Yeah, no, so we're going to do that movie too.
Oh, I have seen this. This is the other type of zombie. There's like 5 different types of zombies, and this is voodoo zombie.
Yes. This is
yeah,
voodoo, and
okay.
this is like based on an ethnographer's research from Harvard voodoo zombie.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, and it's been forever since I've watched it, and it will probably end up being terrible. But but I remember really liking it a long time ago.
But in the best sort of way.
Right. All right, my girl.
All right,
it is now
everybody.
10:17 Alaska Daylight Savings Time, and we've talked for almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I have masks to make, so
I don't think I've quite said enough. I mean, like, wash your hands, sanitize your surfaces, self-isolate, socially distance, flatten the curve, like, save a life, save a grandma's life.
And if you're looking for really interesting, like, live streaming tutorials, Candace Frisbee, tattoo artist on Facebook, she's freaking hilarious. She's the best anarchist I know.
So try to do something productive with your time this week, or, try to do something good for a neighbor or something like that. We really all need to come together in this time.
And today is National Puppy Day, so adopt a dog. They're going to need you.
Yes. There is never not a good time to adopt a dog.
Or a cat. But it's not National Cat Day.
All right, guys. But until then, just remember, take it one dead day
at a time.
Have a good week, everybody.
Have a good week.
Stay healthy.
Wash your hands. Bye.
Bye.